Hey, welcome to the Malm podcast. I am Joël Malm, here with my dad, Rick Malm.
And that's me. And we're going to do something today, right? Talk about something of interest to everybody.
Well, I thought this is our final installment in the parenting series. This whole year we've been talking about conquering mountains and sometimes conquering the mountain of parenting. I think every parent is doing this for the first time, right? I mean, even if you have kids.
I think you should get practice kids myself. I have some recommendations when God creates another universe. You should get practice kids. Once you've totally messed them up, you throw them away and you get the real thing.
Yes.
Disposable children. Great idea.
That'd be nice, except we love them so much. The problem is you fall in love with these little goobers that make your life miserable, and you're like, ugh. So
can't put them back, can you?
Speaking of making life miserable, the dreaded time of year has hit. Summer is here. School is over.
Out.
And literally, all my daughter wants to do is watch TV. And I'm like, that's going to rot your brain.
Well, that's what vacation Bible schools are made for. They're churches babysitting for the community.
She's getting a full denominational experience.
Yes.
She'll be going to the Charismatic VBS, the Baptist VBS, the Lutheran VBS. Might even let her go to the Presbyterian VBS. I'm just kidding.
That'll probably be the best one, actually. You know, they have more money. They can invest in those things.
The one she loved the last year was the Church of Christ VBS. Really? She's like, it was so great. I was like, oh. Yeah. She's also very sensitive to loud music, so that's probably why the Church of Christ is all.
That would probably be good, all a cappella music.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Anyway, it got Emily and I talking the other day. We're like, I don't remember you guys feeling any need to keep us entertained. But yet I know so many parents that they're like, oh my gosh, I have to have a full schedule for my children. Yeah. So like I know a lot of parents who have literally been ramping up and building out this whole schedule. The good ones, I guess.
The good parents.
Parents building this whole schedule to keep their kids entertained for the whole summer, I guess for their own sanity.
Yeah.
But I don't remember you feeling any need to keep us entertained. You were like, go outside, find a stick and hit something, right? Like, is it?
I don't remember saying that, but
basically it was like, is it a parent's responsibility to keep their kids engaged, entertained? You can make it not spiritualized, but like really make it heavy sounding, like by engaging them and engaging their mind, you're growing them to their fullest potential. Yeah. What's your take on that?
Well, for all the parents who do that, kudos. Good for you. That's great. And if that's what you need to do to keep yourself sane, then that works. I think a lot of it has to do with the personalities of the parents, if they feel like they need to have their time. So if you're one of those rare parents who do that, good for you. Kudos to you. Keep it up. But for the rest of us, whenever you're trying to figure something out, you always need to go back to the word. You need to go back to the scripture. And I know I always come across like everything's all spiritual, but frankly it is.
Yeah, I know. When I was thinking about this topic, I'm like, this isn't really spiritual, but I was like, actually, some way it's spiritual because it's always spiritual.
It is. And so how did a family function in biblical times? And in fact, how do most families around the world today function? The kids aren't just entertained. The kids are part of the family. They are carrying responsibilities, like in biblical times and in Central America and many places. You go fetch the water, you go fetch the firewood. We don't have to do that today. But what I'm saying is the kids should carry responsibilities. I mean, we're hearing today in our culture mainly from Jordan Peterson that responsibility brings fulfillment, and irresponsibility is it's a hollow chocolate Easter bunny. There's just not much there.
Yeah,
it looks good on the outside, being irresponsible and just doing your own thing, but
which is a lost. I think we've lost something. I was actually reading this morning one of the Desert Fathers, Abba Anthony. Somebody came to him and said, "What do I need to grow and do all I'm made to be?" And he goes, "Go sit in your cell, and your cell will teach you everything you need to know." What I hear him saying is the responsibility of a monk is to sit in your cell and pray and write and intercede. And he's like, go back to where your realm of responsibility is, and your responsibility will teach you everything you need to grow into who you're made to be.
See, I got the exact opposite of that. Just go hang out somewhere and watch TV. I mean,
they didn't have TVs in the first century.
But I guess you'd watch the spider on the wall or whatever you had, I mean.
And he's saying pray. Go pray. Do your job as a monk.
Do your job.
In your cell. Stay in your realm of influence. Know your lane, and then that responsibility will teach you everything you need to know.
This is why you get so much out of the early church fathers. And I'm going, what in the world are they talking about? I don't even know what they mean.
Higher consciousness, Dad. You got to raise your consciousness level.
I get a headache when I do that. So the point being,
responsibility.
Yeah, I don't
is
think,
a teacher.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know. We don't want to make our things R-rated or anything, but there was an interesting comment this last week by David Hogg, or Hogue, however you want to pronounce it. I think it's actually Hogg, who is one of the vice chairs of the Democratic Party. He said the reason the Democratic Party, this is not political, I'm just quoting the guy. He said the reason the Democratic Party lost the young adults is because we didn't reach out to them. They shouldn't be worried about all the things they're worried about, like trying to pay their bills and stuff. As a young adult, you should just be trying to figure out how to get laid and have fun. He seriously said that. Now, you talk about a guy who is setting young adults up for failure. That's what you're supposed to be doing as a young adult? Not really.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. I was working my tail off as a young adult.
Exactly.
And I think most young adults want to. They want to find their place and their purpose. That's
Exactly.
a flawed mindset.
I know.
Of course he's in government. All these people in government are so pathetic.
Well, it was a pretty ridiculous thing to say, and that should be your goal. And in fact, I heard a guy say one time, one of the big mistakes we've made is we have created a third type of human being. In the Bible, you're either a child or you're an adult. When I was a child, I thought like a child, but then I became a man and I put away childish things. You're a child or an adult. We've come up with this intermediary thing called an adolescent.
Right.
What is an adolescent? Well, you're not really a child because you get all the privileges of being an adult, but you're not really an adult, so you don't have all the responsibilities of being an adult. And so this adolescent is these years that we can just kind of screw around and make a mess of our lives and then clean it up the rest of our life. But we're not held accountable for it because we're not an adult. But we don't have the child, but we have the privileges of an adulthood.
And now we have this thing they call delayed adolescence, where into your 30s, you still have a get out of jail free card. You're like, oh, you're still trying to find yourself in your 30s.
Yeah. And biblically, you go from childhood at age 12, by the way, to adulthood. Which is what the bar mitzvah is all about, right? It's the rite of passage. Like, you're an adult now, step up. Yeah, and you're going to be held accountable. It's really a son of the covenant is what it means. And all of a sudden, you are accountable for the law. You're accountable for the covenant. It's kind of what we call the age of accountability. And all of a sudden, you need to be responsible. And so again, I guess going back to answer the question, teach your child responsibility. I know I had a guy say one time too, and I thought this was so genius. He said, your kids have a hard time sitting still. We say, oh, they can't sit still in church for a 35-minute or 40-minute sermon, Sit them down, let them sit still for 5 minutes. They can color, they can do whatever. Tomorrow, 7 minutes, 10 minutes. In other words, build it up over time to where they're used to just sitting still and doing something quiet. And you're preparing them not only for church, you're preparing them for life, because an awful lot of life is just doing the mundane day-to-day stuff of life.
Well, and my kid can watch a 2-hour movie sitting still.
Yeah. So they can sit still.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of
obviously
training.
Pastors are supposed to be entertaining. So
obviously. More entertaining than a movie. Well, you're supposed to be showing movies, right? Those are your sermon illustrations now.
It's the pastor's responsibility to entertain.
That's right. Well, maybe not.
Just kid. Hey, I know some people watching are taking us seriously. We're joking.
Yes.
All right.
Unless you have an entertaining pastor, and then we're not joking.
Yeah. Okay, so I knew we'd go deep on this.
We did we?
The idea is that it's not your responsibility to entertain your kids, but it is your responsibility to get your kids learning responsibility.
Right.
And that means giving them things to do. And I was thinking about this the other day. You took Elise the other day. She stayed with you the other night, and you just took her around to run errands with you, and she just comes back like on cloud nine. Of course, you bought her a watch, which we already talked about this, Dad.
It was on sale.
The grandparents thing.
Cheap.
In our grandparents episode, we were talking about what's the grandparents' responsibility. Dad's like, to spoil the kids. I'm like, no. Right? But she loved it. And I thought about, my greatest memories with my grandpa are, he would be like, get in the truck, sonny boy. And I'm like, okay. We get in the truck and, we're driving 40 minutes. I'm like, where are we going? We're going to look at some cows over here. And we drive an hour and a half. We go look at these cows. And then we turn back around. I'm like, wow, we looked at cows. I'll never forget one time he took me to this place and he's like, we're going to get a chicken. And we literally go to a farm and we walk out and a guy cuts off the chicken's head right in front of us. I'm just traumatized. I'm like, and the chicken's running around literally with its head cut off. And I was like, but it was a very powerful learning experience. Then we took the chicken home and plucked the thing to make fresh. He said he wanted the freshest gumbo. My point with this was
fresh gumbo.
It felt no need to entertain me, but he would take me with him, and some of my best memories are just going with him to do random stuff. And then he would oftentimes give me chores and pay me a little bit to do them. But I learned so much in that. But I don't think he felt that he needed to entertain me. It was you come along with the adults and you learn what we do.
Yeah.
Which, thank God, you never took me to watch chickens get their heads lopped off.
I think you just gave the answer that all parents are looking for. You tell your child, if you don't sit down and be quiet, I'm going to take a chicken and cut his head off and make you watch him run around. Okay, Dad, I'll sit still. Whatever. Just don't make me watch you decapitate a chicken.
Okay, so what are some areas we can teach our kids responsibility? I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, you always get pushback. I have Elise wash the dishes, and she can make up every excuse. Dad, what if I break a plate? And I'm like, well, if you break a plate, you'll pay for it, right?
There you go.
What are some ways to practically teach it? And that brings up another question. Should we be paying them for this? Emily and I have this constant debate because we got an allowance, and we had chores. When we did our chores, we got our allowance. I don't have a problem giving her an allowance for chores, teaching her the value of work. Yeah. Emily's like, home responsibility is not an allowance thing. And I'm like, okay, that's valid too. Where you stand on that?
Yeah, I can see both. But the point is that, I can see both. I could go either way with it, really. But I do think we do need to teach our kids responsibility with finance. And the only ways that they're going to get it is through having money and spending it and then not being able to get something else, which doesn't work when they go out and hang out with their grandpa and he buys them a watch anyway. But I made her work for that watch, by the way. It wasn't a freebie. She had to put something into it. And
what did she have to do? She didn't tell me that.
Well, she didn't. It wasn't really working. She had to promise me that she wouldn't tell everybody I was a pushover. That was it. And then
that's a pushover thing to do.
She put her arm around me. She said, "You're not a pushover, Papa."
Oh my God.
Okay, good enough. You got the watch. How can you say no to that?
So you basically paid her to affirm you?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So that's one thing your kids can do.
Oh my goodness.
No, save that for the grandkids. No, I think we did for you guys because again, how's a kid going to get money? Because the only things they really can do are family chores for most kids.
Yeah, except my daughter is somehow a rainmaker. She literally is always making money somehow. I don't know. I'll be like, finally, she's out of money. And then she's like, Dad, I just got $150. I'm like,
selling golf balls for one thing. I know, yeah.
Selling golf balls, busting tables at a cafe. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, that's the crazy thing too. I really do think kids like to work.
Yeah.
Once you give them something to do. But there's a study on this where people that watch TV, they say they feel less satisfaction, but they admit they're more prone to watch TV because it's the path of least resistance.
Sure, it's easy.
But when they work, they feel the satisfaction. But oftentimes it's like that first step of getting busy. But once you do it, it's fulfilling. We're made to work. We're made to take responsibility.
Well, one thing you always see is that the kid wants to help when he's too young to help. Can I run the vacuum cleaner? You can't even reach the vacuum cleaner, And when they get old enough, they can actually help. Then they many times don't want to as much. But that's where you give them things they can do. And it starts young. I mean, a little kid can do something. He doesn't have to be very old to be able to at least take a plate one at a time and set them out on the table. He may not be able to carry a stack of them, but give him one at a time. Or the forks. If you drop a fork, no damage, No, let's let him set the silverware and stuff. So I think at age-appropriate work and then rewarding them with, just kudos, first of all. Hey, man, that was really great. That You don't know how much that helps me out. And they begin to see that work is valuable because it helps other people. And it makes them part of the family as well. So
I had that the other day. Elise was sitting there zombied out on TV, and I'm out cutting limbs down off the tree. I'm like, wait a second. I don't want her there while I'm cutting the limbs down. But once they're down, I cut them into small pieces. And I came out and said, hey, Elise. And, of course, she fought me. She came outside, started stacking wood with me, and she loved it.
Yeah.
And then she stayed out there and found more stuff to do, and she was making teepees out of the wood. I guess maybe that is a parent's responsibility to help your kids see what needs to be done because they don't naturally see that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then once you engage them in that, then they can take off with that.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're not going to, they don't see the need of it. But the point, the whole thing is we do need to be teaching them responsibility, not entertaining them. We're not the summer camp counselor, but by teaching responsibility, we're also making them more fulfilled as a human being in the future.
Thanks for listening. Please consider sharing this with your friends on the platform of your choice. For more from Joël Malm, visit joelmalm.com. For more from Rick Malm, visit rickmalm.com. Our podcast music was produced by Alex Burleson.